visual arts.
Good afternoon, I'm Alison, and I'm looking at site-specific theatre by practice in my research. And the title of the project overall is Know Your Place. And I'm thinking about the relationship between the artist and the audience, and wondering what would happen if we looked at that relationship as one of hospitality, whereby the artist becomes the guest of the community, of the audience. So I'm aiming here to raise some problems in the matter of participation in my own practice. And here I want to frame participation within the operation of authority as it relates both to cultural policy and its administration, and to include in this the author as participant, however dead she may be. So the focus here is a project which was undertaken last year in Meanwood Park in Leeds, which emerged from the interest that I and my colleagues in my company, A Quiet Word, have in local concerns and engaging those local concerns in the work that we do. This project is designed to include input from local people and could indeed not have happened in the way that it did without their participation. So the project had two related parts. There was Ways Through the Wood, which was an investigation over a 3-month period of routes through this particular parkland, where we could attend to personal narratives and approaches, and then look at researching and sharing heritage. And this produced a book, which is called Choose Your Own Adventure book. And then Way Through the Wood, which was a walking performance, authored, and I use the word cautiously, by A Quiet Word. And we're an association of artists creating site-specific performances with people where they live, or study, or work, or play, or seek residence. So I'm contemplating this central problem in coming to know my place in the creation, or co-creation, or not, of the work that I do. And as Jen Harvey outlines in Harpin and Nicholson, the art and performance that conscripts audiences to co-make it offers the pleasures of action, self-determination and discovery. But its benefits are much more compromised than they first appear. Its egalitarianism is compromised to retain authorial status for the producing company or real artist. So there's a range of things going on here in this photograph, not least in the title. So who are we, as A Quiet Word, to offer a way through the wood, or indeed ways through the wood, as in the book? What is our authority? The project that took place in Meanwood in Leeds 2016, they had multiple manifestations, as I've said, and we began in 2015 with discussions with the potential partners, including faith groups, the Women's Institute, book clubs, lunch clubs, Waitrose, the local primary school, businesses in the area, including the cafe in the park ranger, and the library service, all of whom had an opinion about what we might or might not do. And the participation of the community is here represented by the choir, Sing Meanwood, who is in turn guided by a professional, Becky Owen, the choir director, but also facilitator, someone key to ideas of participation in community arts practice for some time, also known as an animateur. There's a number of texts represented. Matthew, my colleague here, is reading from First World War poetry anthology. There are songs being sung here, authored by Anon and Trad, those two great bylines, well known at least in English folk tradition. And then there's the text itself, created for performance. We did work with the writer, Peter Spafford. The text in the end consisted of the word Harry, uttered in search of a lost son. Now this sparse text, nevertheless, was supported by a complex performance text that was created in collaboration with the community. And this process was one that took place over a period of some 4 months, from February to June 2016. And it involved community walks, some of which were designed by myself and Matthew, and some of which were led by that amorphous thing, the community. We held writing workshops in the Rangers' Hut in the park. The agenda for this was led by the participants, but of course the framework was provided by the A Quiet Word team. All of which informed the work, and all of which underlines that participation is essential to the practice. So this photograph speaks to that. And there are a number of voices here, singing, of course, speaking through the activity of rendering the text, speaking from the grave in the matter of Wilfred Owen, whose poem is being given voice by Matthew, and the silent but nonetheless eloquent movements of the signer, who renders everything communicable to those who may be hard of hearing impaired. It's fine. There are multiple points from which meaningful, authoritative utterance is made. And it's my view that the authors of the piece are presented in this photograph in various ways, although only one of the individuals will be credited as such by convention, and the rest will be regarded as participants, or possibly people benefiting from your activity, which is a phrase which those of us who've worked in the funding system will recognise well. All of which brings into question who is the author and what is an author, which I'll address in a moment. So how does the work get made? Well, there's a funding structure, and in order to support this work, there are multiple funding applications that have to be made, and this is just a screenshot from the Leeds Inspired section where we have to talk about taking part. And I write those funding applications with input from Matthew sometimes. And here I have to engage with these questions. Who is taking part? The grant application they want us to take. How many people will participate? How many sessions will they participate in? What times of day in what parts of the city? What kind of people will participate? What's their ethnic origin? How many disabled people? What ages? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know, not until we start, not really. I can make a creditable guess, but the process of having a conversation in the area is the answer. Then I'll know who's participating. So while I applaud the focus on participation in cultural policy discourse, as a counting game, I find it redundant. Now, I've got experience from the point of view of both a funder. I spent 8 years at the Arts Council as performing arts officer in the Yorkshire office, and also as a supplicant to the funding system. And I do have a strong sense that so little of the information gleaned from the exercise of looking at who is taking part is accurate or really useful in any meaningful way. I find the exercise of counting participation problematic. The participant becomes a number, a statistic to be applied in some other, probably financial context. They're not the individual that I've encountered by chance, of course, sometimes, or sometimes because we've spent time in the area, investing in the locality, towards at some point, we hope, being invited in as guests. So what in the end constitutes participation? This can be manifested in many unquantifiable ways, sometimes by an individual taking part in the project from their family structure, giving lifts to people in rehearsals, adjusting family timetables to take account of the commitment of a family member, or friends who've got no other interest in the performing arts, but they're coming along to see their mate performing. People in the park observing what we're doing, coming forward to inquire, and then on occasion engaging with us, offering a wide range of input, including local information, stories, opinions about the council's care of the park, ideas about who else we could talk to, and a wish to be kept informed about the progress of the project. These participative encounters cannot be quantified or qualified. Well, they can, but only in terms of a numbers game that is at best guesswork. So also, at no point in the process of preparing these funding applications is there an opportunity to articulate what the participants might be doing as active agents in this overall activity. How does the participant contribute to the authorship of the work? So I've been discussing performance, and I come from a traditional theatre background where the idea of the playwright is very strong. But there are new forms of artistic practice emerging which potentially can point us in new directions. And this is Dave Gunkel discussing the disappearance of musical authority in an article about DJing and audio mashups and remixing. A mashup is widely recognised as an artefact, if not the principal illustration of this alternative configuration. In reworking the recorded material of others, the mashup challenges the usual assumptions of authorship and moves away from the romantic notion of artistic genius. So additionally, within this normative structure that I come from, and I guess I still work in, there's predicated a hierarchy of participation. So the artist somehow is not included. The artist is not a participant. But in my practice, I do place myself as such. I know my place. But there is a problem, because without me, the work will not be realised. Through a set of administrative, production and artistic processes that are recognised by industrial and wider cultural systems, I make the text. I am the author, who, as we know, is dead. The author was pronounced dead in 1967 by Roland Barthes, and here is the epitaph. A text is not a line of words realising a single theological meaning, the message of the author God, but a multidimensional space in which a variety of writing, none of them original, blend and clash. The text is a tissue of quotations drawn from the innumerable centres of culture. So what now? What is this multidimensional space, and what are these varieties of writing? What are these innumerable centres of culture, and can the text be constructed without the author, through the participation of some other agent? Can it be a communal enterprise? The centres of culture have surely shifted from those that Barthes would have considered as such. Perhaps they've come to Meanwood Park, to a group writing in the Rangers' Hut. Nevertheless, the author was briefly revived by Foucault in 1969. The author allows a limitation of the cancerous and dangerous proliferation of significations within a world, where one is thrifty not only with one's sources and riches, but also with one's discourses and their significations. The author is the principle of thrift in the proliferation of meaning. As a result, we must entirely reverse the traditional idea of the author. The author is not an indefinite source of significations which fill a work. The author does not precede the works. He is a certain functional principle by which in our culture one limits, excludes and chooses. In short, by which one impedes the free circulation, the free manipulation, the free composition, decomposition and recomposition of fiction. So Foucault didn't really breathe life into the body of the author. It was more an autopsy. He revived the corpse long enough to have a really good go at the interior of this silent, guilty thing and damned it with faint praise. But as we know, because that was the hope that Barthes left us with, the death of the author is the birth of the reader. And can we characterise this reader as participants. And perhaps this is what this young person is doing, creating their own map of Meanwood Park, deciding on her own way through the wood. Thank you.
I'm Katie Day, and I am the artistic director of a company called The Other Way Works, based in Birmingham. I'm going to talk very much from the perspective of practitioner making work that I think is interactive and participatory. So a lot of this is just about the way that I think where I make work, and it's quite sort of practical rather than I'm not a great theorist. So, yeah, the company, The Other Way Works, creates playful theatre that immerses our audiences in the story. We create intimate scenarios that allow our audiences to explore places and perspectives anew, provoking them to change the way they see the world. We're kind of looking at different ways that people engage with culture using real-world spaces and emerging technologies, and our work integrates games, technology and immersive experiences with site-specific theatre. So, within my creative practice, I'm interested in the intersection of place, narrative and interaction, and I'm always exploring new forms of audience participation and agency. So in terms of, one of the questions that Christina had was about your role within this. So my role within the context, I lead the creative team in the development of the project. And for me, the forefront of this is that I design the audience's journey and experience. I'm very much aware that I'm the author. So yeah, there is that. I am an author, and yeah. So this is, so in terms of what I'm talking about designing that experience, so it's primarily where, when, and how they experience the narrative. It's also about finding ways to create necessary space and agency for audience to bring their own stories and creativity to the experience, as well as empowering them sufficiently to be able to play within our structure. So I'll just give you a few examples from some past projects. Bandstand, there we go, top right, is an app for a smartphone containing dramatic audio, a bit like radio plays, which is listened to on and around a bandstand in a park. The audience member, sort of on headphones or on your own device, the audience member is encouraged to undertake particular actions, thus creating a kind of low-key performance themselves on this empty stage-like structure. Avon Calling is bottom there, is a kind of Avon party, cosmetics party, that comes to the audience's own living room and is performed with the host and a small group of their friends. Through playing Avon-themed party games and in dialogue with the audience, the Avon lady, who is our performer, goes on a journey of self-revelation and also opens up a new space for meaningful conversations within the group, which mostly happen once she's left. In Black Tonic, which is this one here, audiences are welcomed as hotel guests on arrival at the hotel location for the performance and checked into a bedroom. They're then drawn into the role of detective as they piece together the narrative being played out in bedrooms and public spaces of the hotel. So I'm just going to show you a few little short clips from Black Tonic that I hope kind of illustrate some of the experiences that the audiences have as part of it.
Segue. I sound looking Kwan with my feet down.
Get used to it. Just have to pull yourself together. There's plenty of folk want this
So they're in their bedroom.
My ears
The housekeeping staff come in to do it.
Don't move, or you might get refreshed too. I've been seeing. I can see that. It was probably an accident. I expect she was shaving her legs in the bath, gave herself a nasty nick, and then forgot to clean it up. I mean, I've seen a lot worse than that, believe me, my God. I used to work at the Ritz. More expensive the room, dirty the sheets.
What about this?
What on earth's that?
It was in the bin. And this.
You getting defeats or something like that?
No, that Miss Anna Roberts, she cut herself with this glass on purpose. Why?
Takes all sorts, dear, you'll see. You just have to turn a blind eye, yes? I mean, it's a hotel room, another world. People want to get away, they want a bit of time and space. We can't go around noticing things or we'll be sunk. Now, you can see things, but don't go noticing anything or you'll be sunk. Let's tidy. Now, you can do the edge of the toilet paper like I showed you.
Yeah, I can't show you everything, but so just to be clear, the two people looking a little bit gormless are the audience members for this filmed version of the live performance. And then they're in their bedroom, they're now in their bedroom, slightly later on.
Sure. How are my little spies? Joe here again, keeping those eyes open. Good. Can you hear the fight outside in the corridor? That nice couple, Sonia and Steve, are having some very trying times. Go on, go and see what's happening. No one will judge you for snooping here. Quick or you'll miss it.
Why? No! Please, what else you just done me? I'm afraid I'm going to go. Thank you.
Everything out of proportion.
I don't want to come back. I got better sight of you, Steve. Come with me for a minute. I think I just need to get away from him for a moment. You know what? Sorry. Sorry. It's our anniversary today. We've been married 5 years.
I'll explain. It's been a bit of a misunderstanding and she's quite upset. Your friend, what's her name? Rachel. Was she okay? Can we just go and check her? Of course. Yeah, please don't worry about this. Hey, Sonia. Just come back to bed, sweetheart. We'll just give you a few minutes, yeah? Get some fresh air. Really sorry about this.
There's lots more. Then later they're given they're receiving another envelope with a key card that invites them to sort of find out what they can in this bedroom about this woman that they've seen acting suspiciously.
Nerves of steel, such determination.
Somebody else in the room.
You're a very beautiful couple. I've been able to conduct some initial investigations. I'm sure we can make all your dreams come true. Well, I question the wisdom of allowing them to meet your parents at such a delicate moment. Oh my God,
Asking, hey? My goodness, what's been going on? This is Miss Anna Roberts' room. What's been happening?
we just found it like this. It's just like this.
Okay, well, I think we're going to have to get out of this room and sort out what's going on. If you'd like to come with me. Oh my God, that must be her. Quick, get the bathroom, quick.
Oh, shit. Hello, Midnight Star. Agent 161 calling. Nothing is written in the stars. Yeah, secure. Okay, I'm on the Andrea Tremblay versus Steve and Sonia Barker case. Yeah. My fucking laptop has been compromised. There's a next target here. I've been made, I don't know how, but I've been made by the fucking maid.
So this is right towards the very end. You're invited to sort of participate in play cards. To trigger a sound.
Hey, I know there's someone messing with my hotel. Who is this Professor King? Joe King. I am Edna now. I am happy.
You were the one who wanted to get married.
Oh my God!
I don't want to lie to you anymore.
Then don't. We're okay.
Shit.
Steve! What do we do?
I don't know.
This changes everything. Charles? Odbierz telefon. Why have you left me? Charles? Charles?
You can actually watch the whole thing. I put it online, so if you want to watch it, you can. If you go to blacktonic.theotherwayworks.co.uk and scroll to the bottom, then the whole film is like that now. Okay, so I used that example because I have video documentation of it. But I also just wanted to talk briefly about a project that I'm currently developing that I'm hoping to premiere in 2018, which explores sort of a kind of a new form of participation for us. And that is called Moment of Madness. We're kind of dubbing it immersive theatre meets urban gaming, whatever that means. So this project is a collaboration with a games designer and creative technologist called John Sear. And aims to bring together the kind of narrative interactive theatre that I make and the kind of collaborative real-world games that John makes with a kind of strong influence from the popular escape room games phenomenon. Right, that's theoretical, I forget. So when John and I started discussing some of the tensions in developing this project, I found some of the core precepts of game design theory that he shared quite useful in understanding how to design the participation of the audience. So one of the things that we sort of talked about was this idea of narrative and ludology being on this kind of sliding scale, but also in tension with each other. So ludology is kind of about game, like kind of if you think about playing a game, the extreme of gaminess is there, and obviously narrative sort of at this end of the spectrum. So thinking about this kind of spectrum and tension between gameplay and narrative. I realised that actually possibly this kind of scale thing was quite a useful way of understanding some of the usual issues that I come across when I'm making interactive theatre. So like structure versus freedom in terms of how the audience are engaging with the content, predefined versus audience-led. So I sort of feel like these spectrums might help when considering the idea about sort of fake participation. Actually, participation perhaps sits somewhere on this kind of axis of interconnecting spectrums. I think it's quite a complex thing to work out, but maybe there is such thing as fake participation, but also I think maybe it's just around whereabouts on these sort of spectrums you're placing your activity and for what reasons. So, a moment of madness. Moment of Madness is a story about an up-and-coming MP who may or may not have a rather dodgy secret life that threatens to compromise his career. He's being sort of, at the moment we're using a picture of an actual MP called Michael Fabricant to stand in for ours. This is quite perfect. Anyway, the audience, or players, we don't know what to call them really at the moment, are briefed and sent out to stake out a nearby car park in order to observe a meeting between the MP and his compromising contact. They're invited to undertake further surveillance, which involves hacking into his voicemails and other voicemails. For the final scene, they flee the car park to a safe house where they together must decide what to do with the information they've gathered. So do they report it to their handler, do they leak it to the press, do they keep their silence? The fate of the MP and the environmental bill is key to pushing through hangs in the balance, and the audience or player's decision will determine the way that the story ends, probably within the boundaries of maybe 3 possible outcomes, so it's not an open. We use a simple portable technology interface for the audience players, which is actually just a mobile phone, which can be used to call and text, which allows us to create this kind of live game-like experience in a real-world context in a car park. And for me, the real-world environments and the real-world interfaces we use heighten the sensation that this experience might actually be real, and the edges between reality and fiction become blurred and overlapping. Yeah. So one of the starting points for the project was the question, can technology successfully facilitate an audience experience as rich and interactive as Black Tonic, for example, whilst allowing us to scale up to an economically feasible number of audience members per show, so we can actually get the show up. So far, I think the answer is yes and no. John, who's a technologist, has built an intelligent and responsive kind of back-end system, part of which you can see this is a prototype stuff, which automates the delivery of pre-created text and audio assets to the audience players throughout the duration of the experience. So this is actually reasonably effective at spoofing a feeling of liveness for the audience and provides opportunities for them to have agency and interaction that feel real. And we hope that for the completed production that one games master, if you like, will be able to kind of manage up to 10 groups simultaneously, which actually allows us to have a reasonable number of audience members per show. But all of our audience feedback so far through testing is clear that genuine excitement comes with face-to-face live interaction with real people, and that we should have as much of this in the experience as we were able. Yeah, and then just sort of as a final thing, sorry, I love that. I'm really interested in looking to explore collaborating on research projects, exploring experiences of our audiences and how they might differ to audience experiences of more conventional theatre. So a bit of what Alice was saying about metrics and all of this kind of stuff. I'm interested in terms of the difference, the depth of experience and impact and longevity of memory and effect. I'm not the academic in this at all, but I get frustrated with this number, this counting how many people, when that feels a slightly irrelevant figure to me, when I'm interested more in, sort of the depth of engagement and impact. I'm interested in research into kind of these kind of interactive creative projects that might start to disrupt that prevalent ideology. That's it. Thank you. Sorry. Our second pause for thought. And I've been writing just some things that I've picked up, mostly from the last 2, but from this morning generally, on these bits of paper, which I will pass around. And so feel free, if there's one that you're particularly drawn to, kind of gravitate towards there, but feel free to kind of mix and move between groups as you like. So, states.
What they are?
Yes, of course. So we have ethics. Here, do you know what I mean? Authorship and boundaries. Do you know what I mean? Hospitality and welcoming. Co-creation, benefits and problems, and for whom. Institutional constraints or opportunities. Issues of intimacy. And potential technology. So if you're drawn to any of those, feel free to move about, and I'll go around and collect all the post-it notes and pop them in the right ones. Thank you.